All right, 1 2 1 2 in the place to be. What's up, y'all? How y'all feel out there? I am Frank Red, and this is another edition of the In the Dungeon program. I am happy to have you with me in conversation for the next hour or so. We're going to talk about what's going on in the world of sports. Primarily, we're going to focus on the NFL. The Super Bowl is next Sunday. We'll talk about that. The Philadelphia Eagles take on the KC Chiefs. But when can you ever remember the NBA upstaging the NFL? Well, guess what? It happened. Starting last night on into this evening, the Dallas Mavericks traded their superstar, Luka to the LA Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis, who people act like this guy is like ancient. He's 31 years old, has clearly had some injury problems to the extent that he's missed a lot of time, but he's put together 2 consecutive years in which he's played a lot of games. So we're going to talk about that trade and break it down. It seems outrageous to a lot of fans that Dallas would trade Luka. Not to me, though. You have a new ownership group. You have a guy who was on the cusp of touching a supermax contract of $345 million. That's no longer the case. So throughout this trade, he potentially might lose $100+ million. So there's a lot to talk about with regards to that trade, how it works out with regards to the teams, and in terms of how competitive are the Lakers now toward the Western Conference Finals. The Dallas Mavericks, does this make them better? How does it affect the Golden State Warriors? How does it affect some of the other teams? The Sacramento Kings followed through on what I think most people knew that they would do, which is trade their star player. I'm not going to call De'Aaron Fox a superstar. He's not a superstar to me. He's a star. And Sacramento traded him to his preferred destination of the San Antonio Spurs. I think that they did okay in return in terms of acquiring assets. 3 first-round picks, and I think maybe 3 seconds. And they got Zach LaVine, who is a nice player. Zach LaVine's career is still yet to be determined because he's had some serious injuries that has caused him to miss a significant amount of time. But I would love to see Zach LaVine just put together a season in Sacramento where he was injury-free and doing his thing, because the guy can absolutely play. And if he wants to be there long-term, he's a West Coast guy, maybe Sacramento is a place for him. I have some concerns with regards to how the team is now constructed, because they don't really have a quintessential point guard. You got Malik Monk and you got Zach LaVine that's probably starting. That's dicey. I mean, Sacramento was not great running half-court offense in the first place, in spite of De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis having a pretty good pick-and-roll tandem. There were many times in which the offense was stagnant in the half court, and I wonder how long it's going to take for Zach LaVine and his backcourt mate, Malik Monk, to kind of figure things out. But I am a staunch supporter of getting rid of people who don't want to be on my team. And I don't think it has to be nasty, but De'Aaron Fox doesn't want to be there anymore. And if you're the leader, if you're the highest paid player, I need you to wrap your arms around the organization and around the community. De'Aaron Fox didn't want to do that, which is, kind of suspect to me. To be able to snap your fingers and say you want to go play somewhere else. I get it. I guess his wife is from that area. I hope everything works out for him. But I didn't I didn't particularly like what unraveled when he was in Sacramento. He not only wanted to leave, but he got the coach fired. And I don't think that Doug Christie being hired by the Kings was a sugar high at all. I don't think it was something that we should kind of laugh off. The team won 9 out of 11 games. But it's starting to fall back a little bit now. And once you deal with adversity, you really start to see a coach's impact. I want to see Christie's impact now. You lose the starting point guard. You got a new guy coming in. There's a little discomfort around how you kind of put the parts back together. I want to see that happen now. We're going to talk about those two trades. People are up in arms about Luka going to Los Angeles. It's the fix. And you know what? I don't really have a problem with the NBA kind of centering where they want to send players. That's been their business model forever. It really has been. And just because you loop guys together, it does not mean they're going to win. It doesn't. You can still be very authentic in terms of crafting the team and building a title contender. But you got to go out and play. You got to make the sacrifices. You got to build a continuity. You got to stay out of trouble. There's a lot that goes into winning. If winning was easy, everybody would do it. With regards to Luka, I was on Larry Kruger's show a little earlier tonight. We were talking about it. And I said that I don't think that the Dallas players like Luka. And what I meant to say, and I didn't get a chance to kind of rephrase that, I'm sure they love the guy as a person. But I don't think that they like the fact that he didn't show up in shape and he didn't defend his position. The idea that if one of your key players is not playing both sides, and you can just simply go out there and go get some defenders, is ridiculous. It's asinine. I come from the Jordan era where players played two ways. So I got a problem with that. And if Luka goes to Los Angeles and it's just really about him showing his fantastic skills offensively, that's going to get old in LA. As much as they like stars, that's going to get old because LA is about winning. The Boston Celtics, Danny Ainge, no longer there. But Danny Ainge built that team. And then Brad Stevens continued that ascension of going out and getting Pazinski. Not Pazinski, Zonis? I can't think of his name right now. But they built their team basically through the draft. Went to one finals and lost to the Warriors, and they came back and they won it last year. So, I mean, this idea that, you know, the NBA kind of picks franchises that they want to be that they want to be successful and kind of ushers them towards winning the championship. I don't agree with that. I don't. I think the NBA has a unique business model that's based on stars. And to keep the engine running, they need to make sure that their stars are in positions where they can be seen. And I think LA is a good place for Luka. I actually think the Dallas Mavericks are better right now in the interim, acquiring a 31-year-old healthy Anthony Davis who didn't want to play center. For whatever reason, I don't know. He dominated that position, but right now he doesn't have to play center anymore. They got Gabbard and they got Lively. You can play power forward. That's what you want. We're going to talk about a lot of different things tonight. There's a couple of things at the top. A lot of people want to get in here. Brian Iglesias, what's up, brother? I love talking to you off air. Always appreciate your comments. My man Key, what's up, brother? Thank you for supporting the show. What's up, Frank? I believe that man's trade was mutiny by that GM. How can you have one of the best players in the world decide he's tradable and then only talk to one team? Something smells fishy. Yeah, it does. But here's the thing. They wanted to move him for a couple of reasons. I don't think that the new owners wanted to pay anybody $345 million. That was one thing. Secondly, they didn't want to send Luka to a place that he didn't want to be. And there are various videos out there about him, admiring the Lakers and California. I think he's going to be fine in Los Angeles. The idea that you're going to take one of your best players and shop him around like he's like a throw-in piece, in which he could wind up in Charlotte. No, it's not going to happen. It's not how the NBA works. The NBA is always catered to its stars. I don't have a problem with that. I don't. I have a problem with players not being accountable. That's my gripe. So every owner who buys into the NBA kind of knows the score. They know what they're getting themselves into. It's not a conventional way of doing business. And yet, the valuations of these organizations continue to go up. And people make money. Been waiting for your take on the NBA trades. Okay, thank you, appreciate it. I'm comfortable with both teams. I think LA has a bona fide superstar who's actually a celebrity. Young kids like him, Luka. They don't really understand the game. So, they like his superstar, his ability to make incredible shots. And I think that real hardcore basketball fans really appreciate his skill level. Now, people act like Luka was winning those playoff series for Dallas by himself. And I think that's a bunch of bull. Kyrie was there. Some of the other players they had were there. So basketball is a team game. And it's going to be interesting to see how he pairs with LeBron. If he learns from LeBron, it might be interesting to see how these guys can showcase both of their talents. But I like Luka in Los Angeles as a destination spot if it's not going to be in Dallas. And I like Anthony Davis in Dallas, where he got what he wanted. You want to play power forward? Play power forward on a well-balanced team that is positioned to win right now. With regards to De'Aaron Fox, I'm not a De'Aaron Fox hater. Not one of my favorite point guards because I think he lacks mental toughness. I just do. Sacramento bent over backwards. They gave him everything. The city loved him. And he was just not accountable. He basically, if you look at all of the players who were most responsible for getting Mike Brown fired, I would say it's De'Aaron Fox. So you get, I'm not going to put that on him, but he didn't save Mike Brown. I think he could have saved him. Going to San Antonio, that lack of mental toughness that I have observed from him, there's a chance that he can actually get it or find it because he's going to be in a really good organization under Pop, which is notoriously hard on his point guard. Going on the premise that Pop comes back, if not as a full-time head coach, certainly as an advisor. I want to see the maturation of De'Aaron Fox. I want to see it because in Sacramento, I thought that he was good, but to a certain degree, I thought that he had flatlined, and I didn't see him getting to that next level that you got to get to win championship. Maybe that will change in San Antonio. I'm a big fan of Sacramento Kings fans. Not as big of a team. I like the team, but I love their fan base. And I hope that the acquisition of Zach LaVine is positive for them, and they can do something with those 3 first-round picks that they have for what period of time. Andrew the GOAT. Zach LaVine wanted to go play for the Warriors. He's not going to be happy for the Kings. You might be right. Mavs GM made the excuse of defense with championships. Then why they signed Clay? Let me tell you something about Clay. Clay is not the defender that he was 5-6 years ago. We all know this. But find me a guy from the neck up that's tougher than Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson was brought to Dallas not to play defense, but to keep defenses honest late in playoff games. So, pretty good jab at Klay, but I'm glad if I'm the Dallas Mavericks, I like having Klay Thompson on my team when it matters. Game 6 play. What would you say? Andrew the GOAT. Of course, the Warriors front office hasn't done a trade yet. They keep on missing out on so many good players. Mike Dunleavy Jr. fired this offseason. He might be scapegoated. You never know. Being a general manager is tough because it's based off relationships. And if you get fleeced, you get fired anyway. It's embarrassing to get hosed in a trade. So, is Dunleavy Jr. off to a pretty lackluster start as general manager? I would say yes. It's not all his fault. DeAnthony Milton got hurt, out for the year. That hurt the Warriors. But Lindy Waters, I would say at this point it's been a miss because successful NBA players play well 3 out of 4 games, not 1 out of 4. The Buddy Hield signing has been a complete, unmitigated disaster. And that's what Mike Dunleavy Jr. watched. So I'm sure he's not sleeping real well right now. Brian Iglesias, Fox getting what he wants just shows that the players have way too much power in the NBA. Players now get to hold organizations hostage, and it's nauseating at times. Let's look at JB. JB, me. Who's JB? I got a different take, Brian. The players and the owners are in business together. You know, the players are not traditional employees, you know. They have unique talents that you can't find. And thus, they have a lot of power. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem. Oh, you're talking about Jimmy Butler. Yeah, okay. I'm not a fan of how Jimmy Butler has conducted himself. I'm not. At the same time, I've admired Pat Riley for decades, right? Great coach, great executive, great leader. One of the happiest times of my life was when he was a head coach of the Knicks. But he doesn't have to win every battle. And Pat Riley has consistently tried to hold on to that old guard. And guess what? Times have changed, Pat Riley. You know, these guys, these players are corporations. And a guy like Jimmy Butler, who did not, I think, handle things well when it was apparent that Miami wasn't going to give him his extension, is looking out for his best interests in terms of preserving his body. I get it. That's kind of where we are in sports at this point. Do I like how he handled himself? No, I don't. But I think this stalemate between management and Jimmy Butler, I don't think that's positive for anybody. I don't. Andrew the Goat says Mike Dunleavy Jr. missed out on big time on Zach LaVine. He's going to regret that big time. Well, let me say this. You don't know what Chicago was asking, and neither do I. I know this. The Warriors are not interested in giving up first-round picks. They're just not. I get that. The irony is, though, there's some irony there. They haven't done a real good job picking players. You know, they've kind of fumbled some draft picks. And their coach has a hard time developing young players. We're just starting to see Moses Moody look like a reliable NBA player in year 4. It should have happened in year 3. You should have saw signs of it in year 2. But Steve Kerr, I think Steve Kerr is, I hate doing the obligatory, I think he's a good coach, but he's very regimented. And it's tough for young players to play for Steve Kerr. It's tough because he can shake your confidence. You know, there were times in which we would look at Moses Moody and question whether or not that guy would even be in the league now. But finally this year, in what is a pretty lackluster season for the Warriors thus far, Moses Moody is starting to become comfortable and look close to a reliable player. But think about the beginning of the year when Lindy Waters and some of these other guys were getting minutes over Moses Moody. Even last year, when Podge, oh yeah, we like Podge flow. I mean, Moody was nailed to the bench. And we're like, why is this guy not playing? I think it's time to start thinking about Mike Dunleavy Jr. Lady needs to be, and I don't know what that means. I think it's start time to thinking about Mike Dunleavy Jr. on the hot seat. Well, you know what? He's on the hot seat. You know, and I don't think the owner of the team needs to turn it up. These guys are, you know, they know that these opportunities are rare, and these careers don't last long if you don't get things done. One of the things I like about Nico Harrison, the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks, was he's willing to take a chance. Now, nobody makes these decisions in a vacuum. The idea that $345 million didn't come into question with regards to whether or not Dallas should trade Luka or not is ridiculous. We know this. Jimmy says, wow. And the Mavericks GM didn't even consult Jason Kidd until the 11th hour of the trade, right before it was announced. I think that's even more of a confirmation that they didn't want to pay him. They didn't want to pay him. And from the Lakers' perspective, they were getting the same player, theoretically more seasoned as a pro after getting a sledgehammer taken to his ego at a much lower price. How about $100 million less? So it works out for the Lakers, and it works out for Dallas because they didn't want to pay the money. I don't know if there's any player in the league right now who's worth $345 million. Now I go, well, how do I equate that? Does this player put me in a position to win championships just by their presence? Most of the NBA's best celebrities, best stars are older. I don't think there's anybody out there right now. Andrew DeGoat says, if the Warriors don't make a trade this week at all before the deadline, then I think Mike needs to be fired in the offseason. I don't know. I said let it play out. I think if there's a trade out there, then make the trade. Do I think that he's probably a little trigger shy? He doesn't want to get fleeced? Yeah, I think he is. I do. When the conversation started about Booch, the center from Chicago, they were talking multiple second-round picks. And then as they got closer to allegedly consummating a deal, they start talking about first-round picks. So, you know, I'm not in favor of the Warriors giving up first-round picks. I'm not. I was talking to Cyrus Saxis on Larry Kruger's show earlier tonight. Golden Days is his podcast. Check it out. It's really good. And I was proposing a Jonathan Kuminga for Zion Williams trade. And Cyrus was like, that's not going to happen. The Warriors don't want to trade Kuminga. And I'm like, okay. I don't want to trade Kuminga either. But I asked the question also, do the Warriors really want to pay Jonathan Kuminga $185 million? I don't think they do. Zion Williamson contract is not even guaranteed, I think maybe after next year. And under the right circumstances, Zion Williamson could still be a superstar in the NBA. He just fell to an organization that I don't think was equipped to handle his needs. I think the Golden State Warriors would be a much better situation for Zion than New Orleans. And there's no knock on New Orleans franchise, because if you are a well-adjusted young man who is ready to work, who is not easily influenced by outside entities, there's no reason why you couldn't go to New Orleans and have a phenomenal career. But when you come from a small town in South Carolina, you know, your eyes are really big. Maybe you're on your own. Maybe you got people giving you bad advice. Bad things can happen. That's less likely to happen in Northern California under the Warriors organization. I have a lot of experience interacting with the Warriors organization, going back to the Chris Cohan days. And you know what? You could say that Chris Cohan didn't love basketball. He didn't care about winning, but he ran a very professional organization. Everybody in that organization was first class. And Joe Lacob has continued those covenants and actually built on it. So if you come to the Warriors, you have a good chance of being successful if you are about basketball, in spite of being a young guy playing for Steve Kerr at times. Are the Spurs the top 4 team in the West with Fox trade? They seem young and talented. I don't think so. I think that they are a year away from making a really big statement. I'm interested in seeing how this affects Chris Paul. I can see a scenario where Chris Paul gets traded to a destination that he wants to be, i.e. the Lakers. Do not surprise me if Chris Paul was a target and he landed up with one of his buddies. I think De'Aaron Fox and San Antonio and Wemby, it's going to take a little time before they kind of get things together. I think that they're on the right path. But, I'm more excited about some of the other young players on San Antonio, to be honest with you. Castle is a legit two-way player. Vassell, Wemby. I mean, come on now. So San Antonio is on the right path, but I don't think this year is going to be their year. I would be surprised if they didn't make the play-in. But top 6 seed, top 4, no, I don't see that. Keys says, I think the Jazz would have gave up everything for Luka. And the Mavs probably could have offered Luka a Cooper Flag. I love AD, but getting old and always hurt. You know what's funny? Remember when JaVale McGee went to the NBA and Adam Silver was like, Adam, the narrative that's being promoted by TNT, by Shaq, is killing my career. Remember that? And then all of a sudden, some of the odd videos of him doing ridiculous things went away. Many of the negative comments started to go away. And next thing you know, this guy was a 3-time NBA champion. I think some of that is still lingering with AD. AD has put together 2 pretty strong years. I mean, when are we going to stop saying that he's always hurt? He wasn't hurt last year. He hasn't really been hurt this year. So I'm like, let's be fair. Let's be fair. I read something yesterday after the trade last night that talked about how Luka going to LA has increased their odds of winning a championship this year by a considerable amount. And I want to ask you all, do you guys buy into that? I don't see it. I think that continuity was pretty good with AD. And on this East Coast trip, they were playing pretty good basketball also. I don't know how getting Luka increases their odds. I think it increases Dallas's odds. But I'm interested in knowing where I might be wrong, because I don't believe that is the case. I like Dallas because they were already a physical team. Jason Kidd has instilled a mentality that he embodied as a player. And I think all of the players on Dallas know that if they don't play tough and physical, they can't play for Jay Kidd. And I think Anthony Davis comes in and he becomes that defensive juggernaut who could also get you 20 to 25 points a game. I like Dallas. If OKC is the best team in the Western Conference, if I'm the Dallas Mavericks, I like my chances in the playoffs. I really do. Did LA get tougher with Luka? No. As much as we marvel about 40-year-old LeBron, and it's beautiful to watch to see somebody that old or at that advanced age as a player do many of the things that he's doing. It's pretty awesome to watch. But LeBron at this point is what? An average defender? I don't think he's a sieve. I don't think he's below average. but he's definitely not an above average defensive player at this point. So I got to see the Lakers in action. You know, they're going to be fun to watch on some nights, and they're going to, you know, beat the tar out of some teams. But I don't know if that equates to winning in the playoffs. Now, one of the things that kind of gives me some visions of the Lakers playing well in the playoffs is LeBron playing in the Olympics with other great players. People can say what they want to say. LeBron plays well with great players. He does. And because LeBron's IQ is so high, you know, even though he's a ball-dominant player, there are times in which he's not ball-dominant. And he knows how to fall back and let the other person take control. So I think LeBron James gets a bad rap with regards to people saying that he can't be Robin. He can be Robin. He can also be Batman. So it'll be interesting to see what the Lakers do. They need a center. I don't know if Vukovic is the guy that they're targeting. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they look like on February 6th. So we've talked about the NBA trades and NBA for the first 35 minutes of the show. We can continue that if you have some comments you want to make. It's all good. Another conversation that's out there is, and many of you have commented on it, is the Golden State Warriors, what they need to do. I just want to see the Warriors play good basketball. You know, I don't want to see pros looking like non-pros. And I mean, watching Buddy Hield step on the out-of-bounds line, it's like Groundhog Day. How many times can you step on the out-of-bounds line? I mean, stuff like that to me is really tough to watch. So I want to see the Warriors play good basketball. I've given Steve Kerr credit for one thing this year. I think he's done a good job managing Stephen's minutes. I love that. You know, everybody's not LeBron James. You know, this is Stephen's 16th year. And not many guys in his 16th year, even though he's been a little spotty at times this year, but he's still playing at a very high level. I think you got to give Steve Kerr some credit for that, kind of picking his spots, sitting him out in certain games, and really sticking to the decisions that they have collectively made to play Stephen a designated amount of minutes. And rarely does he play back-to-backs. He does when it matters. I think you got to give Steve Kerr some credit for that. I also want to continue to see the ascension of Moses Moody. Like I said, we should have seen Moses Moody playing at the level that he's playing at now last year, but he's getting there. I want to see him continue to get more opportunities and take advantage of those opportunities. I want to see Jonathan Kuminga come back, and if he's still around, put him out there for 30-plus minutes a game and let him develop. This idea that the Warriors are definitively challenging or working towards a championship is ridiculous. It's not where they are. So I just want to see the Warriors play good basketball. All right, I want to see the right guys on the court, not some guys who we know are not going to be here next year. I mean, I understand why they put Buddy Hield out there, because that's $32 million albatross around their necks. You know, if they ever think about whether or not they can trade him, they're going to have to snooker somebody that maybe watched him play over a 2-week period in which he was on one. Otherwise, you're going to have to eat $32 million. It's not a good look for Mike Dunleavy Jr. Key says the Warriors got blackballed. We could have had a better package for Luka, Draymond, and Wiggins. Our perfect fits to Mavs. Throw in a couple other minor pieces. Done deal. Mavs will be favored in the West. I think they're favored anyway. You got a lineup of Gafford, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, the kid from Kentucky, is that Johnson? And whomever they want to put at the 2. Put Grimes there or whatever. Oh no, they got Clay, right? They got Kyrie, Clay, I can't think of the kid's name from Kentucky, Anthony Davis, and Gafford. I'm taking that lineup all day. And one of the things that helps teams is when your best defenders are your interior defenders. Your exterior defenders don't have to be as good. They don't have to be. All they got to do is try. That's it. And if you're playing for Jason Kidd, you're going to try. So I think the interior of their defense is going to be fine. PJ Washington. Thank you, Keys. I appreciate you, brother. Look at that lineup. You can go with 7'1" Lively, Anthony Davis, PJ Washington, Klay Thompson, and Kyrie. Who can you beat in the West in a 7-game series? The Denver Nuggets with Russell Westbrook starting at point guard? Lakers with no center? Give me a break. Memphis is kind of a problem. I mean, whether or not they can put it together and play an intelligent brand of basketball, I don't know if they can. And they got some tough guys, but I don't know from top to bottom if they're really ready for that smoke. I don't know if they are. I don't know if they are. Phoenix looked damn good Friday night against the Warriors. So talent is not Phoenix's problem. Mental toughness is Phoenix's problem. They get fractured. So I don't know about Phoenix. But for people who are poo-pooing this trade for the Dallas Mavericks position in the interim, I'm talking a 2 or 3 year window, I don't know what you're looking at. If the Dallas Mavericks win a championship within the next 3 years, they're going to look at the Luka trade as a success. You can't take back championships. You can't. How many great players have never won titles? Quite a few. Quite a few. I don't think they had great confidence that eventually a Luka-led Dallas Mavericks team was going to win a championship. And while Nico Harrison's mantra of defense wins championships might be kind of gooey talk to people who are focusing on how good Luka is, there's something to that. Let things play out. From a Lakers perspective, I think this is all about what they are made of. The Lakers are made of stars. They wanted to have a star in place, a bona fide star. Not kind of star. No, they got a star. and Luka Doncic. Whether or not they're going to win any chips, I don't know. But they got a star. They got somebody who they can charge $2,000 per seat to watch. And that was their goal. Love the Senior Bowl, especially the small school kids getting their time to shine. Yeah, I was born close to that area down in Mobile, Alabama. So is it still played in it's still played in Mobile? So I've always been a big fan of the Senior Bowl and the story of the young man catching that pass from TCU after his brother was tragically killed in New Orleans a few weeks ago was beautiful to watch. I saw an interview this morning on ESPN, and just watching the young man, I don't know his name, but watching him being caressed by his dad, kissing him on the head, was very emotional for me, man. And it was great to see, especially when we consider the tragedies that we have had to experience as a nation over this past week. So yeah, that was a great part of the Senior Bowl to see some of those human stories come out. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Keith. Thank you for acknowledging the Senior Bowl. A lot of good players come out of there. My man, Josh Johnson, who now has that new phone commercial about him playing for 14 different teams. Josh Johnson actually blew up in the Senior Bowl coming out of University of San Diego and being drafted by Tampa Bay. So, you know, just another example of somebody utilizing that opportunity to build their careers. There you go, Keith. Thank you. Jack Betch, MVP of the Senior Bowl. Yeah, good for him. Yeah, that was a great story. All right. Once again, I have not done a good job promoting the show. My name is Frank Red, everybody. If you're listening for the first time, I appreciate you stepping in the dungeon and checking out what we do. If you like the show, give me a like. It definitely helps the show. If you like the show, give us subscribe to the show as well. And it's all good. You know, if you're listening for a long period of time, you'll know that we're bad at promotion, but we're great at content. So you found us, so that's not your problem. You know where we are. You can find us on Sunday nights, primarily at 9 o'clock, but every now and then I'll step on and step in the dungeon during the week, which is all good. Best way to keep abreast on when I'm coming on is follow me on X, follow me on Twitter at Big Frank Red. I love to engage in conversation. Brian Iglesias and I, it was funny. Yesterday morning, Brian and I were going back and forth with regards to the Warriors around 8:30 in the morning as I was preparing to go coach my girls' team. I'm sitting in my car tweeting back and forth with Brian as I was preparing to coach my girls' team. And if you're interested, we lost in overtime 24-23. Middle school girls, they played hard, but we lost a game that we could have won 3 times. I think we learned some valuable lessons. And one of the lessons is stop trying to please your parents. Focus on your team and doing what you can do to help us win. my mother worked 2 jobs. So my mother never had an opportunity to come to any of my high school games. Not a one. The only way that my mother saw me play in high school was I played for a pretty prestigious high school. So we were on cable TV maybe a couple of times a year, and she would watch me on TV. But she never got a chance to come watch me play. And I think while it's great to have that parent support, I love parents who de-stress the situation and don't put any pressure on their kids. Because all coaches want to win. And coaches are going to let players do what they can do. Particularly me. You know, I'm a talent evaluator, I'm a coach, I'm a learned player. I was not someone who was gifted just automatically. I had a great body and I was strong and big, but I had to learn how to play. Some of our young ladies need to fall in love with basketball and learn the fundamentals. I actually coach a young lady who is dynamite. And she's going to be a really good player in high school. And she scores the majority of our points because she can. But defensively, when we lock in, we're able to compete against some really good teams. I'm teaching my young ladies that, that needs to be enough right now until you start to develop the skills. And at that point, you will be able to do more on the offensive end. That's tough for parents to watch sometimes because they want to see the ball go through the basket. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. Andrew the Goat says, how can Curry be okay with the front office doing this to him, not making one single trade to help him out? I'm going to tell you how he can be okay with it. Every time he looks at his bank account, every time he sees millions of dollars flowing into his account, every time he looks at his trophy case and he sees 4 rings, there's one other player in his era that has 4 championships. That would be LeBron James. So this woe is me Stephen Curry crap, stop it. It's not real. That's what fans do. People who really study the game. I mean, this is basketball. You got 30 teams that are all trying to win. I'm a Knicks fan. We haven't won since '75. This is the first time in decades that we actually have a chance to do something in the playoffs. Senior Softball says, how's Levine going to fit in with the Kings? I think it might be a great fit. I hope it's a great fit because Zach LaVine's a good player. But Zach LaVine is not a playmaker for others. I went to the game last week when the Warriors played Chicago. And, Chicago didn't make any shots, so they lost. But what I was looking for in watching Zach LaVine was I wanted to see if he was fully healthy. And he is. He's fully healthy. And that's a good sign because that guy's a good player. Whether or not he can mesh with Malik Monk, who's kind of a wild cowboy, wild style boy, kind of a wild cowboy. I don't know. I mean, when I think of those guys, I think of your turn, my turn. And that's not good. So Sacramento, once again, will be in the market for a point guard in this year's draft. because the kid they drafted this year, good player, but he's a combo guard. He's not a quintessential point guard. Maybe they think he can be. I don't think so. Oh, okay. I made a mistake. Yeah, Klay Thompson and Draymond, obviously. I was thinking about players from other teams outside of the Warriors. But yeah, Klay has a good chance to get his 5th ring. I totally agree with that. And, signing Klay Thompson to me has been a good move for Dallas. Klay doesn't shoot a high percentage anymore because he can't move as well as he could. But he still can get on one and make threes. And he's tough as nails from the neck up. And they're getting a cheaper Klay, which is good for them. I think Klay Thompson would have helped the Warriors this year if he was on the team, because he certainly would have played better than Buddy Hield and Lindy Waters. No doubt about that. I think it was time. He helped the Warriors, get their financial house in order. And he has not embarrassed himself at all this year. I'm happy for Klay. I hope he does win another title. Frank, what are your thoughts on the Fox going to Spurs? I mentioned a little earlier, but I'll talk about it. If I'm the Spurs, I like the trade because I didn't have to give up anything. I didn't give up Castle. I thought for sure Castle was going to be in a Sacramento Kings uniform. And San Antonio was like, nope. We ain't giving him up. We like him. So Zach had to get another team involved. Before Zach LaVine signed with Chicago several years ago, one of his destination teams was the Sacramento Kings. So they've had a relationship with Zach LaVine for several years. So I think he likes Monty McNair, he likes management, likes the city, and there's a good chance that the Zach LaVine thing would work. But San Antonio, I think, did extremely well. They got all of their young players. They got a star in De'Aaron Fox, and they got a megastar in Wemby. So they're on to something, folks. Thoughts on Davis going to the Mavericks? I like it. I mean, it's a sledgehammer blow to Anthony Davis's ego, because I know he would have never thought that somebody would not want him. But he probably learned a valuable lesson. Stay in your lane. When an organization is paying you $50 million or more, I don't know what his salary is, and you 6'10", 6'11", playing for the most part against average talent at the center position, and you say that you don't want to play center, and you start GMing in the press, you open yourself up for stuff like this. And that's what happens. Rob Pelinka was like, wait a minute. I'm on the phone 19 hours a day trying to make my team better. And I got a guy who doesn't put any butts in the seats telling me how to do my job. When I can get somebody who is kind of sketchy, but is a surefire superstar that celebrities want to get close to, oh, you gone, B. So I'm hoping that Anthony Davis plays with a chip on his shoulder. But he's still a very good player. I think Anthony Davis has 5 really good years. Andrew the Goat said, it's pretty sad what the Warriors are doing to Curry. Keys, LeBron and Luka don't fit. I think LeBron's next. Well, if LeBron's next, that's to the Warriors. And I would challenge you to give it a chance. Because LeBron showed in the Olympics that he can fall back. He really can. And nobody's IQ is higher than LeBron. I don't care how many assists Luka has. LeBron, to me, is the smartest player in the NBA. Not even close. Andrew says, I actually hate the Warriors front office. Okay. Glendocious from the great country of Thailand. Great episode tonight, Frank. I wouldn't be shocked if the Warriors do nothing and chase Giannis in the offseason. Wow. Giannis is one of those dudes. A franchise changer who actually plays hard. What's up? Yeah. A lot of good stuff happening. I do want to touch on the NFL, though. By this time next week, we'll be talking, and we will know who this year's Super Bowl champion is. I'm going to say this. I don't have any hate for KC. If KC three-peats, it's all good. It won't bother me one bit. But I'm going for the Eagles. And I'm going for the Eagles for a couple of reasons. First of all, I think Jalen Hurts is the most underrated player of all time. It's tough for me to watch like former quarterbacks on television dog this guy out when they wasn't as good as he is. Not even close. He's done more than any of the guys who talk on television about how bad he is. And it sucks. All he does is make plays when he has to. And if Jalen Hurts wins a Super Bowl and he's a factor, I think the conversation changes about his trajectory towards the Hall of Fame. Because I don't think that he's going to have a precipitous drop in the next 5 years. So I want that to happen for him. Saquon Barkley. I call Saquon the Stephen Curry of the NFL. I mean, congenial, full of humanity, benevolent for his teammates, and just an absolute beast on the football field. And like Stephen Curry, every game we're riveted by something that we've never seen done before. And to see how the Giants treated him. And I'm a Giant fan. And I'm a fan of the organization. I just think that they gave the keys to the car to somebody who can't drive. And we saw it on Hard Knocks in season. I mean, it was like a middle school kid was negotiating a professional contract. How do you not re-sign Saquon Barkley? That was nuts. So I want Saquon to win a championship. The last thing is Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift thing. Hey, they love each other. Hopefully they'll get married and have wonderful lives together. But I don't want the Super Bowl to turn into an after-school special. Like a perfect Disney Plus content piece. I don't want that. Especially when KC got over, in my opinion. Last week, that 4th and 1 non-first down call with Buffalo. Remember that, y'all? No one can tell me that something fishy didn't happen on that particular play. I think it did. So I'm going for the Eagles. Who you going for? But Mike Dillon Jr.'s job is on the line this week as the Warriors general manager. So he has, it's not on the line this week. No, it's not. Stop it. How? How? I think they're going to do everything they can do to keep him. They just want some of the decisions to work out. Listening to Larry Kruger's take on the Warriors earlier tonight, he talked about how Joe Lacob and his sons are kind of handsy in terms of personnel with regards to the Golden State Warriors. But Mike Dillon Jr. is a fall guy. And that's tough. Bob Myers was not a fall guy. Bob Myers did his job. Probably not very easily. Probably was tough for him. But I think he still stood his ground and did his job. And when he felt that it was getting so hard that he couldn't, he's like, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? So I just want some of the decisions with Mike Dillon Jr.'s name on it to work, because many of them haven't worked. Lindy Waters, I mean, come on. Not that he's a scrub, but he's not ready for prime time. It's going to take him some time. Buddy Hield, listen. I'm not only a fan of basketball, I'm a student of the game. I got an A in basketball. So I'm looking at the fundamentals. Buddy Hield has to be one of the most non-fundamental players that I've seen. I mean, seriously, his fundamentals, not in catching and shooting, but his fundamentals are just terrible. Which means when he's not making shots, you can't play him. Cannot play him. He's not making shots. Cannot be on the court if he's not making shots. Anthony Merkovic, how you doing? Question for you. Did you read the article, The Warriors Should Go for the Blazers Center? I didn't read the article, but you're talking about Robert, right? Robert, what's his name? Robert Woods. I don't have a problem with it. Or is it Ayton? I don't think it's Ayton. I think it's the kid they got from Boston, right? I would have no problem with that. He's kind of nasty. You know, got a bum knee, but he's kind of nasty. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. He would improve their defense. Bob is good at what he does. Look at the Commanders. Wow. Bob Myers was involved in that, wasn't he? Yes, sir, Frank. Hield is right. Hield's right, yeah. Yeah, Buddy Hield's a tough watch. There's no doubt about it. They wrote, okay, at 6:45 this evening. I haven't seen it yet. I'll try to check it out. Yeah, Robert Williams or something like that. Yeah, his name is Williams. If they didn't have to give up that much, they're paying him a decent salary. I don't know who they would have to give up. The Warriors don't like trading their players. They really fall in love with their players. They do. And it's interesting because they generally only bring in good guys. So when you bring in good human beings, you don't like to see them go. So that's problematic with the Warriors. even with Bob Myers, they didn't make a lot of trades during the season. They didn't re-sign guys the following year, but they didn't make a lot of trades. They didn't. And that's because they fall in love with their players. They love their players. Right on, Franks. I just want to say this. We've had some new callers tonight to step in who I haven't either talked to in the past, or you've just been silent listening to the show. I really appreciate you, and I thank you for the support. It's awesome. Hopefully, you will continue to support the show. And this is a lot of fun for me. This is what I do. I love to talk about sports and converse with people and get new ideas about things that I care about, which is sports. It's a great diversion for all of our lives. All right? I want to transition and really quick, want to give a quick review of a movie that I saw this weekend. And we do that on the show as well. I'm a movie buff. I'm a screenwriter. And so telling stories is something that I'm very fond of. I'm also a rap artist as well. Look me up under Frank Red. So I'm an artist. I'm a sports guy, but I'm an artist also. Anthony, thank you. He says, I'm going to help you with sharing your show. I appreciate you, brother. It's all good, man. It's good. Thank you. I saw the movie September 5th about the 1972 Olympics in Munich, Germany, in which 11 athletes from the Israeli Olympic team were taken hostage in the athletes' living quarters. I don't know what to call the people who did this. They call them terrorists in the movies. I call them that. They call them. And it was a really behind the scenes look at the acute dance that ABC Sports had to do with ABC News to hold on to the coverage of those events. And CBS also played a role because they were involved in satellite time and stuff like that. I don't want to give too much away. But if you enjoy movies that kind of film from behind the scenes and you have these acute shots, check this movie out. I really highly recommend it. I had to check myself and look at the movie differently because this is not Hollywood fiction. This is real events about real people's lives that ended in tragedy. And probably one of the worst events that has ever taken place at the Olympics. And it was terrible. So I didn't allow myself to get caught up in the movie making. It was part history lesson because I was really young. I was too young to really understand what was going on at the time. But the cinematography that was executed during that particular time in 72 and in this movie was excellent. And it made stars. Roone Arledge, who ran ABC Sports for decades, was integral in that process. Peter Jennings, and obviously the voice of Worldwide Sports, Jim McKay, handled the commentary exquisitely. And I'll give one thing away because it was in the credits. The hostage coverage by ABC. Do you know how many people watched the coverage in 1972? 900 million people around the world watched that coverage. Fascinating stuff. I'm not going to say anything else about the movie because I want you to see it on your own. Great actors. I want to mention one guy's name. Two guys. Peter Sarsgaard is a great actor. Bill Chaplin is great. John Mangro is somebody who I've just kind of come into contact with. But he's a brilliant character actor. He's on one of my favorite shows also, The Agency, that has just concluded on Showtime. I still need to watch the 10th episode. But Agency with Jeremy Wright and Richard Gere, Wasserman, fascinating kind of CIA, intelligence, spy. Fassberger's on that thing too. So, real good stuff, y'all. Anthony says, interesting. I got to watch it. Okay, you watch it too. Dr. Dre showed up at the fire benefit. Awesome. I'm going to for sure. Yeah, you know what, man? I mean, we got a lot of challenges in our country, but people, I think the majority of people are generally good. And when people are in need, they want to show a sense of humanity. I actually believe that. I do. You know, that's how I live my life. All right. We've been going for an hour plus, longer than I thought we would, but it's because of you that this show was so engaging. And I can kind of tell. Now, this show was dope. It really was. So I don't know if you listen to the show live or you'll listen to it at another time. This was a good one. This is one for the books. I'm going to thank you all out there for playing a major role in the success of the program. Hit the like button, please. It definitely helps the show. If you like Anthony, go out and help promote the show so the numbers will increase. Subscribe to the show if you like it. And I'm going to do my thing and get out of here. Success and getting paid is the manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. All right. My name is Frank Red, and that's all I got. I'll talk to you during the week or definitely next Sunday night in the dungeon. All right. Good night, everybody. Peace.